Blessings, my beautiful souls, and how are you doing today? My name is Avalon Cameron and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about oracle cards. So if you're a beginner to oracle cards, or if you've been, working with oracle cards for a little while, then stick with me because I'm going to mention some really useful and exciting and informative advice and information pertaining to the subject of oracle cards so that you can choose the right deck for you, so that you can understand the system of oracle, so that it can help you to get comfortable with your decks and to understand that there are decks out there that are perfectly suitable to you, and that there are ones that just won't make any sense to you because they're not exactly what you need right now. So this is technically all about oracle cards. So if you'd like to learn more about oracle cards, then keep on watching, and please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, tap that little notification bell, and share this one around to those who may benefit from this information. Alright, let's first talk about what is an oracle deck. Well, my lovelies, oracle cards are very different to that of set structures like the tarot, like Lenormand, and so on. What you have with oracle cards is a free form system, and this means that the structures of each and every oracle deck do not copy one another. So they are completely autonomous in the sense that the artist, the creator, are the only people that have an influence on the type of cards, the type of messages, the number of cards, the style of artwork, the guidebook or lack thereof a guidebook, and so on and so forth. So it really is a matter of the artist and creator choosing a theme. Take, for instance, the Shaman's Dream is the theme of this particular oracle deck, and in it you are going to find cards that relate to this exact theme. Likewise, the Green Witch Oracle, same thing. That is the theme, and you are going to find that the cards within this deck relate to the subject of green witchcraft. And so everything is geared towards the theme of the deck. When it comes to oracle cards, no two decks are the same. They are always a little bit different one from the other. And I'm not just talking about theme. I'm talking about the construction, the style. There is a lot of differences between oracle decks. And that is what makes oracle cards so unique, is that they are in fact very, very unique one from the other. And typically, this is something that many people can get behind. All right, my beauties, one of the most helpful things that I can tell you today is that there are in fact 4 different types of oracle decks, and understanding these 4 different types or varieties of decks will be helpful to you because it will enable you to choose the right deck for the type of job that you need that deck for. So you will be getting what you need when you understand this information. Now, the first type of oracle deck that you will typically find is very, very popular, and these are affirmation style decks. These types of decks typically have a message, a phrase, an inspirational quote, something that is of the affirmative, the positive, printed on the card itself that you can pull from every day. So if you have one of these types of affirmation decks, you can pull a card every day and be imbued with that kind of good vibe, because it's designed to uplift the spirits. It's designed to bring harmony and to bring kindness and to bring nurturing and healing into the equation, and to put you in a positive state of mind. Affirmation cards are exceptionally popular for this reason, because they just have that really nice positive effect on an individual, and they can be very, very uplifting when you just need a little bit of positive, guidance, and when you just want kind words in a moment. So affirmation cards, extremely popular, and they're very valuable in the sense that you can really use affirmation cards alongside things like tarot, for instance. At the end of a tarot reading, to end a reading with an affirmation, a positive affirmation can be very, very uplifting. It's like a hug. It's like a warm hug. The next style of oracle deck that is very, very popular is the divination-based deck. Now, this is perhaps the most prevalent type of oracle deck in the sense that it really is the type of deck that fits under the category of oracle, because they are designed as a divination system. They are designed for spiritual guidance, for allowing you to see insights into the future. They are designed to enable you to access a deep well of wisdom, to connect with your guides, to connect with your intuition. They are deeply guiding, and they can be really instructional in the way that they present that guidance. So these are very, very, very popular types of decks, and ones that typically those that are interested in working with card cartomancy will tend to gravitate towards. Now, these particular decks have things like keywords printed on them. They have key phrases in association with those keywords. The cards are numbered, and they typically have a guidebook, a really rich and resourceful type of guidebook attached to it. And so you have this deck of cards that has this supportive type of material in the form of a guidebook, and together you can really work some, some beautiful magic, some beautiful, good stuff with this type of deck, because you have everything that you need to get the absolute most out of that deck. The third type of oracle deck that I will mention to you today is the spiritual development type of oracle deck. Now, very similar to the divination style of deck, the spiritual development deck follows very similar structures in the sense that they have keywords and key phrases and numbers and guidebooks, etc. However, these types of decks tend to be obscure. So the cards that you will pull from a deck like this won't necessarily be of true and genuine meaning to you initially until you cross-reference that with the guidebook. So the guidebook in this instance becomes a really valuable resource in getting the absolute most out of your oracle deck, because without it, you just won't understand it. And I'm going to show you some examples of these types of decks because it's helpful to know. These decks are designed for personal use. They are designed for you to work with. They are designed for you to journal with. They are designed for you to meditate on. They are designed for healing and for guidance and for that deep soulful connection with the self. These are really personal decks, and it's not that you can't use them in an oracular reading, or if you are a professional reader, it's not like you can't use them with another client. It just means that you need to take a lot of time to get to know that deck first and foremost before you can offer it up as a resource to another person in a reading. It typically takes a long time to get to know these decks, and you need to work with them every day in order to build up that type of that type of knowledge, for that matter. And so they can become a little bit trickier to get to know, and they're not technically the most preferred of oracle cards because they do mean work. They do mean that you need to do some work. And so if you're not interested in that, then step over these ones entirely. Now, the last, or the fourth type of oracle deck that I'm going to mention to you here is much rarer than any of the others that I spoke about. And they are the intuitive decks. Now, these types of decks, they don't have keywords, they don't have key phrases, they don't have numbers printed, and they don't have guidebooks. They are standalone decks that are entirely intuitive, in the sense that that is what you need to do to read those cards, is to rely entirely on your personal intuition, your psychic ability. You need to connect with the art, you need to connect with the color palette, you need to connect with the symbolism. These are very difficult cards, but they are designed for one specific thing, and that is to stimulate your intuitive connection or your intuitive abilities. And as such, they are very, very rare. In fact, to my knowledge, I only know of two, and they are Soul Cards 1 and Soul Cards 2 by Deborah Knopf Chapman. I have never seen anything else like it out there, and as such they are pretty standalone in their structure, but they are in fact in existence. They are known, they are loved, people work with them, so it had to be mentioned as the fourth and rarer kind of oracle deck. Let's now look at a few decks so that you can get a better understanding of what is what and what might work for you best.
All right, here we have a perfect example of affirmation cards. I'm going to show you what I mean by affirmation cards. They typically don't come with a guidebook. This is the backing. This is a little bit out of order. But here's what we've got. You have a card like this, and it's got everything written on it. So you can just read it, feel it. You can use it as a focal point. You can use it as a mantra. You can use it as a affirmation, as in something that you can say when you're standing in front of a mirror. You can sit down and journal about it, and you can use these at the very end of something like a tarot reading or a bigger oracle card reading, especially if you're using more divination style oracle cards. Having an affirmation kind of ties it off nicely towards the end. And so that is one example. Everything's out of order. I took this to a retreat, so lots of people played with it. Here's another example. Again, no guidebook. You just have the intro card, artists and authors and things like that, and a little bit of the mission statement behind the affirmation cards, and you've got something like this. And it's just affirmation after affirmation after affirmation, little piece of wisdom, little bite-sized pieces of wisdom, little quotes, little things that you can hold on to, little things that you can focus on. You know, affirmation cards are very light and airy. And so if you're very, very new to oracle cards, it's a entry point, something that is, you know, it's very easy to approach. It's something that you can easily get behind, that you can sync well with. And it is something that, you know, will enable you to connect with, you know, a guide, like that deeper wisdom, and, you know, something that you can work on every single day. Like you can pull a card, an affirmation card every day, look in the mirror, say your affirmation, really feel it, and then release it. Here are 2 examples of divination-based oracle cards, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So here is the Green Witch Oracle. The theme of this oracle is obviously the Green Witch. It comes with a comprehensive guidebook. Now, when you look very closely, these guidebooks have a wealth of wisdom inside of them, and something that you can really work with that goes beyond just a standard affirmation deck. So here you have protection, we have onion, and then you have a little bit of a quote here, followed by an oracle meaning, and then a cultivation. So if you're into gardening, you get this little bit here. Then you have magical correspondences, which is a little something extra, and then you have a little protection spell. So these are all on top of, you know, just the standard information that you get from the cards. And this is what the cards look like. As you can see, they are numbered. They have a pictorial sort of symbolism on them with little symbols all around. They have the key word, and then they have what it is. So here we have grape, we have abundance. So grape represents abundance. And then if you go within here and have a look at card, what is it, 2023? There we go. You get all of this information on top of just, you know, what you see in the card. So working with the guidebook in a divination deck is really, really important, and it will enable you to get a lot out of the deck, or a lot more out of the deck. Let's have a look at another one here. Oh, it's upside down, but we get where we're going. Here we have the Magic of You Oracle. This is another kind of witchy sort of deck. And here is the guidebook, and let's have a little look. Here we have the name, here we have the key phrase, and then we have information about the card and the meaning behind the card, and then we have a ritual. So different style of guidebook, but this is what I'm saying. Each oracle deck is different one to the other. And this is what it looks like. And so you have the number, you have oblivion being the key word, and then you have the phrase here to link onto. Open your arms. Here, sacrifice. What can you let go of? So these are really beautiful cards to work with, especially in a divinatory capacity. So you can use these cards in a full reading. And oftentimes you will get within these guidebooks, I went over one, you will get spreads. So most guidebooks come with spreads, and you can work with the spreads. They can be quite complex and comprehensive, and you can also work with, you know, more traditional tarot spreads if you like. You can make them fit a traditional tarot spread while working with oracle cards, and that can be quite entertaining if you just want to push the boundaries of your divination decks a little bit further. But these are 2 examples, and there are many others like these, and this is my favorite type of oracle deck, I suppose, because it feels a lot more like tarot, which is really where my heart lies. All right, here we have an example of a personal oracle deck. This is the White Light Oracle. I have a couple of others like this, but I don't typically keep them down here where I tend to do my other work. Here you have the most valuable resource. The guidebook in personal oracle decks are very important, and I'll show you why in just a moment. So here we have the cards, they're the backings, and this is what you've got. Bastet of 174 Hertz. What does that mean? Oh, I don't know. Let's have a look in the guidebook. This is how you have to work with these types of oracle decks. All the information that you need comes from the guidebook, and the guidebook has all the information about the card plus the healing process, because these types of decks are very anchored in the concept of healing. So you can do a lot of personal healing work with a deck like this, with an oracle deck like this, but it's also a deck that you can eventually use with clients. Now, initially, I wouldn't recommend it because it's something that you really do need to get to know. You need to become comfortable and confident reading these cards without having to look at the guidebook. So in that instance, it's almost like learning tarot, understanding the meanings of each and every card before, you launch into a massive tarot reading for another person, for instance. Now, once you do have a knack for it, and many people do take the time to cultivate this type of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of a deck like this, then they can use it with clients. But it is a very personal style of deck, and it is designed to be worked with in a very personal way. And so this is another type of deck that I would recommend using you could use it on a daily basis, especially if you're the type of person that likes to do a bit of journaling. So a deck like this would be very, very helpful in journaling. It helps you when it comes to healing work. So oftentimes you'll see meditation recommended, and, affirmations and areas to focus on in order to really tap into the healing potential of each and every card. So it's a deck that takes time to work with. It's not quick. It's not the affirmation style where you can just pull a card, read it, voila, you're done. It's not the divination style where you can do the same. You can pull it, oh yeah, like this is something to look out for. This is something that I can tap into today, and voila. This is something that demands time and attention. So, there are some people that absolutely love this type of deck, and Alana Fairchild is definitely a creator of oracle cards that leans in towards these more personal working oracle card style decks. And her work is very, very good. It's very, very beautiful. But again, you need to be ready for this because it's a commitment. All right, the last deck that I'm going to show you is the intuitive deck. This is what I mean by an intuitive deck. Excuse my puppy. He spotted something in the background. As you can see, you have a succession of images here. They don't have numbers, they don't have keywords, they don't have key phrases, and it does not come with a guidebook. Aside from a small pamphlet that tells you it doesn't come with the guidebook and you need to read this intuitively. So this is Soul Cards 1. There is also Soul Cards 2. Now, I absolutely love to work with Soul Cards for metaphysical maintenance. These are really unusual decks with quite striking imagery and color, and it entices you to lean into your intuitive faculties and to begin working with those intuitive faculties to help you to deduce, the concepts behind the symbolism used, the colors used, the figures that you see. It's very intuitively drawn. It's very loosey-goosey, if you know what I mean. And so what you get out of this deck is what you can feel, what you can sense, what your intuition is telling you. And so this is definitely a deck that will exercise your intuitive faculties. In fact, these types of decks are specifically designed to do just that, to work those intuitive faculties and to get you connected to the realm of spirit. So these types of decks are more for the experienced type of reader, or for the type of reader that is interested in developing their intuitive faculties through the realms of cards. Okay, so there are many ways to develop your intuitive faculties. You don't have to work with oracle cards to do this, although oracle cards are a really great way in, and intuitive decks such as Soul Cards are really, really good for that type of intuitive exerciser. Did I say exerciser? You know what I mean. This is a deck that you would use for metaphysical maintenance. This is the deck that you would use for divination. This is a deck that you could use for reading. This is a deck that you can use for healing work and journey work and, focus work, and also for journaling, a lot of journaling for that matter. And you can use this before a tarot reading or an oracle reading, and it will complement the reading quite a bit. In fact, that's how I like to use soul cards. I open up every single one of my client readings with a soul card for the purpose of extracting a metaphysical maintenance message. I am currently working with Soul Cards 2, and this is Soul Cards 1. All right, my beautiful souls. Well, I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you have any comments or any contributions to the information that I have shared with you here today, then leave it in the comment section below.
below and let's, you know, start up a really nice, constructive and informative conversation. In the meantime, just understand that when it comes to oracle cards, there is so much room to move. There is so many directions that you can go, and there are so many decks that would work for you right now and ones that you can really sort of like aspire to work with in future. But the point of this is to understand the structure of oracle cards a little bit better so that you can get more comfortable with your cards, with your decks, and as such use them more often, because that's what it's all about. And with all of that said and done, my beautiful souls, don't forget to share this video around and make sure that those who need this information get this information. If you've enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up please, because that helps me out tremendously, and I will be chatting with you again in the next video. Much love to you and many blessings. Mwah! Bye!